9.3, very short and direct. Only two things you need to know about what it is. And again, 9.3 is about circles, is how the equation and graph are related. I'm going to show you one direction and assume that that you can work on your own, which you can, to kind of be able to go forwards and backwards, because once you understand the relationship, I think everything else will fall into place. And then how to write the equation in what we would call standard form, which I don't know the general name for the form of it, but I am going to use standard form for any format that lets you find the vertex and anything else that you need, or the center point, whatever it might be. So the standard form of a circle, or again, that's what I'm going to call it, so don't get mad at me if you find out that it's a different form, version, or word. This is your part here. It's x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. Notice again, the number with x switches, but that's your x number. The number with y switches, but that's your y number. And that your radius here is actually going to be squared. And it's similar to your Pythagorean theorem, where a is your x direction, b is your y direction, and c is your diagonal, which is why it's a, b, and c. So as long as you remember that that's squared, I think you should be good. Outside of that, again, it just takes practice. So let's just do it. Again, x squared, y squared. So your center here is going to be 0, 0, because there's nothing attached to x, nothing attached to y. So you put the center there. And then your radius is going to be the square root of whatever's there, which is 4. So all you have to do is go 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 down, and 4 left. And then draw your best version of a circle, which I've never been good at this myself, to finish this off. And that's it. That's your graph. That's why I said these lessons are going to be quick. Again, the bottom line, though, is that you've got to make sure you put the work in to know you know how to do this stuff without going to notes, without having to think too much. In this case, your center is 2, because that's your x, negative 1, because that's your y, because remember, anytime it's on the inside, it switches. So 2, negative 1, which is here. Your radius is going to be the square root of that, which is 2. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and then you use those 4 points. Ooh, this might be good. Oh, till I choked right there. To draw your best circle. But that's it. And what I'm saying is, if they did not give you this, then what you should be able to do is say, I went 2 to the right, which means it's going to be minus 2. I went 1 down, which is negative 1, so it's going to be a plus 1. Then you count the distance from the center to the edge, which is 1, 2, which means you square the 2 to make it a 4. So we are going from here to here, but some of the questions actually give you the graph and have you go to the equation. But again, I think that you can work your way there if you just really want to get that done. Last one, just to make sure you know how to deal with sum and wherever a number is connected to one but not the other one. All you have to know is, again, you follow the same rule, but since there's nothing attached to y, that's 0. So your center is at negative 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0. And then your radius square root of 1 is 1, which means 1 up, 1 over, 1 down, 1 back. Draw your circle. Question done. That's all. All right. So the graph, again, should be easy. There are 30 questions on this, but the 30 is not punishment. The 30 is because these questions really shouldn't take that long once you get into it. And it's also to make sure you get deep enough into it to where you have some sort of understanding, or should be at least, if you really did what you're supposed to do, to where when you take the quiz that you should have a clue on how this stuff works, and that if you get 100% quickly and then for some reason you don't do well on the quiz, well, I think we know how you got 100% on the quiz. Process of completing the square is used to find the vertex of the parabola. It'll be used in all of the graphing sections on this chapter, which is why I think I said in the last lesson, make sure you have the process down. It's just going to be very important that you organize your work, because in the end, it is going to help to know what the standard form should look like. Otherwise, you won't know when to take the steps that you need to complete the work. And now this is what I meant when I said organize. On your test, it's actually on 11.5, but one part of your test is I'm going to give you a formula, and your job is to look at that formula and figure out what the standard form is, and that's with all the different conic sections that are there. The best way to do that is to organize your x's. So I'm going to put x squared minus 16x over here. And remember, I have as much room as I want because it is my paper. Then I'm going to put y squared minus 14y, and then I'm going to put my plus 109. I also know that I'm going to be adding a blank to this group. I also know I'm going to be adding a blank to this group. And in the end, because there's nothing going on, because I'm adding a blank, I want to subtract that off there, because remember, we have to fit the balance. And again, if you're having issues with that, watch that video on 4.7 that I emailed you. Here again, you added another blank, so it's 2 blanks we have to add, equaling 0. So that's where the organization comes from. And notice all I did was piece my x's together, piece my y's together, and leave some space, put my number there, leave some space, figure out what's going to go here, figure out what's going to go there, and offset those 2 blanks. From there, it should be easy. That's x minus 8 squared, which is 64, which is 64. Again, that's the part that we practice. Plus, this is going to be y minus 7 squared, which is 49, which is 49. And the last thing you can do is literally take your calculator and type in what's over there. So it's 109 minus 64 minus 49 is -4. And the last thing, this is why I said you need to know your standard forms. We know that the formula of a circle has the radius is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we need to move that 4 over there, which means your standard form would be this. And now we know center is at 8.7, radius is 2. So you want to try to get used to that, because again, on your test, a bigger portion, or I won't say a bigger, I guess it is a big enough portion, a major portion of your test is going to be taking this equation, knowing what it is, naming it, and then going from there after we deal with all of them. So let's look at one more before we go. As I said, it would all be quick and efficient. That way you can get some practice. Again, take your x's, put them together, leave some space. Take your y's, put them together. Take your constant. Now we set this up to know I'm going to add a blank here. We know we're going to add a blank here. Since I know I'm adding a blank, I'm going to subtract 1. Since I know I'm going to add, I'm going to subtract 1, and there is my line. From there, do that completing the square process, which is x minus 6 squared, which means 36. 36. This would be y plus 1 squared, which is 1 and 1. That's going to be -48, -49. And again, because we know this is a circle, you're going to do your x minus 6 squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 49. Center at -6 or 6 -1, and radius of 7. Remember, that's not going to be 49, it's going to be 7. So again, the key to success is taking your practice seriously. We know at this point how much effort it really takes to finish the homework. The true effort is in mastering the steps and making sure you know them well enough to perform it when everything gets mixed together. So for this quiz this week, you need to know your parabolas, you need to know your circles. For the quiz next week, it'll be 2 different things. For the test, you'll need to know everything together. So make sure as you practice it that you try to distinguish what's what as we keep adding things to what we know. Right now, the general thing that we know is that a parabola is x equals y squared, or y equals x squared. So what we notice already about a parabola, actually, let's go to a circle first. A circle is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So what you can notice already is that a parabola has a highest power of x's, highest power of one of them is 1, whereas the highest power of the other is 2. And on a circle, both of them have a power of 2. So this is kind of where our distinctions are going to split off a little bit. So when you start to read these formulas, if you notice that the highest power of x is 1 and the highest power of y is 2, then you know you have a parabola. Same thing, if you notice that y is at 1, x is at 2, then you have a parabola. But if you notice that your highest powers are 2 and 2, then you have some sort of non-parabola. I won't say circle yet, because again, as we continue to learn these things, we'll see other things to distinguish one from the other. But outside of that, again, thanks for taking the time to do this. Good luck, and remember to ask for help whenever you need it. Talk to you later.